Day that I'll be on Cape Cod for this spring. And the wind is blowing great, as you can see, and you can probably hear. Rigging up 2 sails so that they're ready to switch quickly. And got my Nash hover foil as usual with the 1150.
At this point, I've got about 20 hours on the board with the foil, both at Cape Hatteras and here at Cape Cod. The map in the lower left shows where I went in the outer Narragansett Harbor for this session. My form has improved quite a bit. I'm keeping my forward arm straight more of the time. Here in the harness, it's limited, but that's an important technique point that I'm starting to get the hang of. And I'm starting to have some muscle memory that when the board is starting to get too high, I need to bend my front leg, straighten my back leg, bring it back down, and vice versa. If it's starting to get too low, bend the back leg, straighten out the front leg to bring my weight back. I'm starting to be a little bit more consistent on being able to jibe without falling. Most of my jibes at this point have been with the board down in the water, but at least I can come around and not fall a decent percentage of the time. Today I'm going to be working on doing a jibe up on the foil for the whole jibe, which I don't quite manage. This session got a lot more interesting when I got out into the break, so I've skipped that point. One of the things that I learned in this session was a way to fall more gracefully. When I breached the foil, came down on the nose and stopped suddenly. For me, this type of fall was one of the most violent and startling that I've experienced while learning to foil. Slam onto my back really hard and knock the wind out of me. But in this slow-mo, you can see that I'm bringing my backhand around and slapping the water behind me before my back can hit. This greatly reduces the amount of force with which my back hits. As you can see from the track map in the upper left of your screen, I'm on the longest leg of this trip on port tack, and I'm out into Buzzards Bay far enough that the waves have gotten pretty big. So I'm having to actually navigate up and down a little bit to keep from breaching when the board flies over a trough in the wave. This was really fun, and looking forward to more time in bigger waves in the future. But it was definitely a big challenge, and I tip-tapped on the wave tops quite a bit, and breached once in a while on some of the waves where I didn't bring the board back down in the trough quite enough. I love how this video angle allows you to actually see how high the foil is in the water and how close I am to breaching. The waves made it quite a bit more difficult to learn how to jibe, especially when I dropped off of the foil and off of a plane in the middle of it, like I did for this jibe. Once I'm not planing, it gets less stable, especially with the waves rocking me around. It becomes like a longboard jibe, but I don't pull it off. I'm starting to get a little overpowered at this point in my session. I'm out into Buzzards Bay proper, the mouth of the outer harbor, and realizing that I better head back at some point soon to the beach so I can switch to the smaller sail that I already have mostly rigged up. So I'm bearing off a little bit, trying to keep my overpowered sail from popping me too high up on the water. And actually looking forward to seeing how I do with my downwind techniques, because downwind has been one of my biggest challenges, and here I'm going to have a nice long opportunity to practice my downwind skills. One thing I've learned from experience is that maximum board speed through the water is not necessarily attained with a high wind speed. In this case, I'm a little overpowered, and so I should have plenty of power to go really fast. My maximum speed I've reached in some of my sessions was about 23-24 miles per hour. But as you can see from the speedometer here, as we're zipping along overpowered, I'm not even making it up to 20 miles an hour, even on this fairly optimal angle of sail out of beam reach. Of course, the waves are slowing me down because I'm needing to navigate them. But even when I'm able to keep the board up on the foil, I'm not able to reach as high a speed as I have. I think it's because there's just more drag from the sail when you're not utilizing the whole sail. So even though you have plenty of forward power from the sail, you also have more drag. I've cut to where I'm starting to head downwind more and more, and I'm gonna do a quick jog to head back over towards Nye's Neck. When I'm sailing downwind, especially when I'm overpowered, I like to keep my back foot out of the foot strap so I can move my foot closer to the center line and keep the nose down more easily when I've got plenty of power from the sail to get up on the foil, albeit carefully, because I don't want to get up on the foil and fall off immediately either. So you can see I've learned the hard way that if I use all that power too suddenly, then I might end up in the water instead of on the foil. But this downwind run was really great. I had some fun playing on some wave faces, so to speak. You're underneath the water with the foil, but you can still feel that you're surfing the foil nonetheless when you're on a face. And I start to get the feel of that even on this Buzzards Bay chop. It's a really cool feeling sailing off the wind, and once in a while you get it locked in and you can get some really great speed going. The forces in your hands are really even lighter than going on a beam reach or close reach, because you're just going downwind. There's not a lot of force in the sail where you're going similar direction from the wind as the wind. And yet, like I say, if you can get it locked in and get your back arm in, the apparent wind swings around to the front and you can keep going really fast, as long as you can keep from breaching. I was really pleased with my downwind run on this session. It was the best downwind sailing I'd done, and I guess that's because I had so much more opportunity to practice on this session. At the other locations that I've been sailing, up until I got to Buzzards Bay, there just wasn't that much space at the hull at Cape Hatteras. But today the wind was perfect. I got out with about the right size sail, which is key. Although I'm going in just to reduce sail, but it's not that I'm too terribly overpowered with this sail. I just know it'll be better with the other one. I think this is the leg of the session that I reach maximum speed. There it is for this session. About 23 miles per hour, I think. And it's downwind, on the faces of waves. What a rush. It's just an amazing sport. You've got to try it if you haven't yet. On this last jibe attempt, I managed to keep it up on the foil for the very first part of bearing off the wind, but end up down in the water yet again for the rest of the jibe until I bobble it, lose my balance, and then have an opportunity to affirm that indeed my sail is too big, because I'm able to recover from the fall with a water start. And they say if you can water start with the size sail that you've got, it's a little too big for foiling. Okay, I went back out with my 3.3 meter sail, which is closer to the correct size sail for the wind conditions and my weight. So I'm excited to start working on my jibe a little bit more in earnest. For the next series of jibes, I've got more speed over the water than a lot of my other jibe attempts. In this attempt, it looks like I keep my weight a little too far forward and come off the foil nosing in. On this next attempt, I accelerate to even more speed, especially as I bear off the wind. So I'm actually going over 20 miles an hour when I try to start the turn, but I don't lean into this turn quite enough. Come off the back and the outside of the board. After the last fall, I didn't realize that my camera had gotten skewed too high, so we miss seeing what the board's doing on this jibe that I'm very happy about, as you can tell. But I feel like the board's staying up better than it is when I'm out there. When I see the video later, I realize, yeah, it was off the foil. More of the jibe than I thought. On many of my attempts, I'm realizing watching the video, I'm not putting my back foot far enough across to the other side of the board. So this shows the result. At this point in my jibbing practice, whenever I have the board speed above 15 miles per hour as I initiate, it definitely feels like a high-speed jibe attempt. And then if I've got 2/3 of that speed left, or thereabouts, as I come through the jibe, it feels like a great success, even though the board is coming off the foil in the process. in this last jibe that I captured in this session before my battery ran out on my GoPro. I was going pretty fast when I initiated it and kept a decent percentage of the speed throughout the turn, but again, fell off the foil. So this is going to be an ongoing challenge for me to try to get my first full foiling jibe pulled off at some point in the future.